my first company in 1994, and I think Thai got started in 93, just about a year before that. I just felt that I had sort of gotten so much from the organization that I really needed to give back. We were trying to get the youth in. We're also trying to get diversity in terms of gender. It's just, when you create value from nothing, right, which most entrepreneurs love to do, this is another value that I have created, and it's part of my legacy too, that I was convener of Tiecon.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Women Now. This is a very special show for us. As you can tell, it is that time of the year when we all get excited about entrepreneurship, learning a lot from Tiecon, which is coming up. Now, I have the privilege of talking to the convener, BJ Arun, and I've talked to him last year when he told us all the good stuff that's going to happen, and it even became better. So I don't know what's in store for us this year. You're going to walk us through everything that's going to happen, and we're going to come and be energized and want to be a part of it. Tell us what's cooking.
This whole conference gets better year after year, and we've been doing this for over 2 decades. I've actually gone to pretty much every one of them. It just keeps getting better and better. Last year I was the convener as well. We had over 4,600 people come. Just amazing conference. People said, hey, are you going to be able to beat that? And we absolutely are going to be able to beat that. We have even better speakers, even bigger attendance. It's just a fabulous, fabulous 2 days, completely charged with amazing knowledge and total inspiration.
Tell me this, every year I've actually found there's a twist, something is different, and I can't really put my finger onto what that different element is. What is it this year? And I'm curious to know about it, is because, I think a lot of us are waiting for that moment when we go there and experience it.
So, there are 2 ways we're able to keep it fresh. One is, we have different speakers come. We don't repeat the speakers, right? So if you have a Satya Nadella from Microsoft who spoke at a previous Tiecon, we will not have him come and speak again. So people, when they come, they always hear new speakers, and that's one thing we do. And the other thing is we also try and have different kinds of people come. So though it's all about entrepreneurship, you have different kinds of entrepreneurs.
Can I just break your tagline from, you say dream?
Change.
What is the dream part?
The dream part. So I think, entrepreneurship always starts with a dream. And, I was speaking earlier to Bonnie Simi, one of our grand keynote speakers, and so she was talking about her dreams and how she dreamt that she wanted to go participate in the Olympics or be a flyer. And she's just living her dream. So I think unless you have a dream, unless you know the destination of where you want to go, it's really hard to even get started. So you need to dream, and you also need to dream big. Right? So most of us, we grew up in, say, a middle-class family. Never, thought that I'd be driving a fancy car or living in a nice home or running a company with hundreds of people. But you just dream big, and then you work your way towards your dream.
Great. What's the change part?
The change part is, it could be different kinds of change. So, for example, we have disruptive entrepreneurship. And so you see, for example, how a Travis Kalanick and Uber has changed the whole transportation model, right? To a point where not only are taxis becoming redundant, but many people today choose not to even own cars because it's so convenient.
Correct.
And so that's the kind of change we're talking about, disruption. So you make a difference, and that's the change we talk about.
How do you inspire?
And inspire, of course, I think I personally, for example, each time I go to Tiecon, each time I meet or listen to new speakers, I personally get inspired. Because I may feel good about myself having accomplished a certain level of success, but then when you go and meet a person who's done 10 times or 100 times what you have done, or something even more, like, for example, one of our keynotes on Saturday is Kailash Satyarthi, the 2014 Nobel laureate, and the work that he's been doing, right, with children and sort of the trafficked and stuff. It just totally inspires you to say, what, they've done so much with their lives, I should aspire to do more myself. And so that's the inspire we talk about.
Right. Now, being an entrepreneur, I'm very curious to know from you, your perspective, because, you know, the myth is that you're an entrepreneur if you're running a big company. But there is an entrepreneur in a lot of people that are doing little things just to make a change. Or just get started on doing something that they believe in or they dream of, and you know, just going there. So I want to hear from you, how do you define an entrepreneur? Who is an entrepreneur in your mind?
You know, an entrepreneur is somebody who is willing to strike out on their own and create some value, create some value out of nothing, okay? And you could be a person, you know, running a little, you know, hot dog stand, or you could be running a multi-billion-dollar corporation, but it always starts with wanting to create some value from nothing. And that, in my mind, is the definition of an entrepreneur. And so you could be an entrepreneur in any chosen field you know you want to be in. You just have to go and find some way to create value. So.
And what about when you became an entrepreneur? Can we go back to that moment when you wanted to be an entrepreneur? What was going through your mind? Why did you want to be an entrepreneur? What was the change that you dreamt of?
So I think, you know, again, I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, right? I was not trying to change the world and make it a better place or whatever. For me, entrepreneurship was about creating value, right? So as I mentioned, I came from a middle class background. I did want to, you know, I used to see my friends come, you know, get chauffeur driven in fancy cars. I used to have to cycle to, you know, school. I said, hey, how is it that they can come in these fancy cars? How come I'm having to pedal my way to school? And so I said, okay, how can I create that kind of value, right? And I knew that if I just went and worked for somebody, I wouldn't get there. But you know, when I started working for myself, I realized that I could make 5-10 times what somebody would pay me, and I'd be my own boss. So there was just like no downside at all. I mean, you know, you just have so much fun doing it. You make more money, and you meet more, you know, more interesting people, and in the process, you also actually end up changing people's lives, right? All of the people who I work with, right? All my colleagues. I mean, you know, you provide employment for so many people. So it's just a fascinating journey of being an entrepreneur.
Well, I think there's so much to learn from this calm, collected, extremely articulate and down to earth entrepreneur that we have here in the Bay Area.
You know, you're very generous with your compliments. I don't know if I'm any of those, but thank you.
You're all of those and more, and you're the convener. And I always, when I come to you, I get calm because, you know, you just have that infectious calmness around you, and you make everything calm around you. So I think that is one key thing to being a good entrepreneur. Would you say that?
I think so, because you know, every single day, right, the life of an entrepreneur is never the same. Each day you're presented with new challenges. And so, for example, whether it's running Tiecon, where you have hundreds of volunteers, you know, all kinds of stresses, people, you know, running around, and or in a workplace where you have so many people and there are like interpersonal issues, there are customer issues, sometimes products don't work. And so you just have to be absolutely calm, because only when you're calm you can make rational decisions. So if you get overly emotional, you always end up making the wrong decision. And I think particularly if you aspire to be a leader, all the troops, all of the people who you work, you know, who work for you, they look up to you as the CEO, they look up to you as a convener, and they want to see how you're reacting to these stresses.
Talking about this calmness, I want to know from you, is it a different cycle that you become calm, that when you grow and you've already achieved a lot, that calms you down, or you've always been like that? Because I cannot imagine a young entrepreneur who is driven and he wants to do a lot of things, being extremely calm like you.
So I think that's a bit of a fallacy, because I mean, you know, just because you're calm doesn't mean you're not driven, right? I mean, you can be, you know, high achieving or aspiring and still be very calm. And I would, I mean, in my case, I think just by nature, I'm a pretty calm and composed person. But even people who are not calm, they need to work towards being that. Because, you know, as I was mentioning, there are so many stresses in the life of an entrepreneur that if you start getting frazzled with every sort of stress that comes your way, you actually can't deal with it.
Can you take some classes on that?
Yeah, I could become Sri BJ Arun and do some, you know,
Exactly.
sort of, you know, art
when
of...
we come back, we'll hear more from Arun, and don't go anywhere, stay with us.
Come to Tiecon 2016, where you'll get inspired to dream and make changes. To the world, to your own lifestyle, we promise you a fabulous 2 days, May 6th and 7th, tiecon.org. That's tiecon.org.
Viewers, I hope you're enjoying my conversation with Arun, who is the convener of Tiecon, one of the most exciting and the largest entrepreneurial conference happening on 6th and 7th of May at Santa Clara Convention Center, and I hope to see all of you there. While we continue our topic as to how you become a good entrepreneur, we figured calmness is a good part of it. Tell me more about the elements that one requires to be a good and successful entrepreneur.
Right. I think one key attribute is, you just cannot give up. So day after day, however bleak it may look like, you just have to keep plowing on and keep going, because there's always, the sun rises after a dark night every single time. So even if you've had a really bad day, customers rejected you, your product didn't work, or your employees are stealing, or whatever it is, right? You just have to keep going. You just can't throw in the towel and say, I'm done, I'm just going to go do
like
something else.
Like they say, fail enough to succeed sooner.
I don't know exactly what that means, but but it's really, you just cannot afford to give up. And one thing I can guarantee anybody who aspires to be an entrepreneur is that they're going to have lots of failures along the way. They absolutely will. And so unless you have the stomach to sort of handle these ups and downs, you shouldn't even become an entrepreneur. So I think an important aspect is just the staying power to keep dealing with the adversities which are thrown your way every single day.
And how about, I feel that you have to be so immersed with your work and what you want to achieve that you almost like put blinkers and you become numb to everything else around you. Nothing else affects you as much as anything that has to do something with your work, and everything you see around you has to translate to other helping in what you're trying to achieve or being a part of it. Otherwise it means nothing to you.
Right. So it's actually absolutely true. I mean, even I get what I call tunnel vision. So when I have to be focused on something, I become completely oblivious of anything else going on around me. So I just completely get so focused. But that's when you do your best work. You have to.
That's when a lot of people will call you selfish, and I've had that a lot. That this is a selfish person. But I kind of talk to myself and figure out that being selfish is actually trying to achieve something which I selfishly think should be achieved.
So I guess there are different definitions of selfish. Over here, if I'm focused and if I'm creating value for my stakeholders and for my employees and my investors, it's a good kind of
being selfish.
Yeah. So I don't really know.
You have to be selfish. I think I wanted to talk about being selfish as an entrepreneur, and in that cycle that you are being misunderstood a lot, but people from outside do not understand how focused you are to achieving your goal, and may appear to be selfish on the outside.
So I'm not quite sure I understand why you would term that selfish. So give me an example. Why would you say an entrepreneur is selfish? In what aspect?
Okay, so let's say, I have a full day to myself. I could go party with a friend of mine whose birthday and who gave all her, time to celebrate my birthday party, but I have something to do at work. I dumped that birthday party and they think, I did all that for my friend, attending her good times and parties, but, she didn't even care about showing up. It's because I at that time weighed the options of having a good time with her and choosing to do what I want to do at work. Although that could wait, that could happen another day, but for me that moment becomes more important.
Right. So I would actually not call it selfishness. I would actually call it sacrificing. I have sacrificed, let's say, not going to a party because I was focused on getting something done. Or the fact that I go and volunteer at Thai and help with Thai, I'm on the board of Thai Silicon Valley, I'm the convener. I actually spend a lot of time doing this stuff. So I have a day job as a CEO, and then I have to go and dedicate so much of my free time doing that. So I am making sacrifices. So if you called me to your home for a dinner, I probably would say, hey, I can't because today is a Wednesday night and I have my Tiecon meetings, I can't come. So it's not really selfishness, it's sacrifice.
It's a little bit more deeper than that. For example, when I see somebody that is so useful to my purpose, I automatically start spending more time with that person as opposed to someone who may care a lot more for me but means nothing to my work. And I have, seen that, lived that for a long time, and I tried to reason that, that person at that time and that person at that time probably think that, this is a selfish person who found somebody more useful and is more attracted to that person.
Right.
But I'm saying all these things, and in a very candid way, is because I wanted entrepreneurs to learn the little steps along the way and how you will be defined by people around you if you're really trying to be that successful successful entrepreneur, and these are things that people don't talk about.
Right.
But I've lived it and I know it, and it's pain.
Yeah.
This is a big part of being an entrepreneur, that how you can balance and sacrifice what you think is, worth it for.
Yeah, and I think, we all aspire to try and balance it, but I'll be honest with you. Most of the time, the work-life balance is just not there. If you have to create that kind of value, right? I mean, a guy who works at a bank from 9 to 5, right? He could probably have more of a balance because he gets to go home, spend time with his wife and kids, etc.
So I want to say that, from the learning as an entrepreneur, that it is a lot of sacrifice, and you have to stay on your path to sacrificing, and more sacrificing is because you really want to achieve something so bad that nothing else matters to you. And that's when I use the word numb. You're almost numb to everything else that doesn't concern your journey. And I think you would have lived that too.
Yeah, and I guess I would define it as becoming possessed. You almost have like a tunnel vision. You become possessed with what you want to do, and nothing else around you even matters.
Right, and you never switch off.
You just never
ever switch off.
I mean,
you sleep with the thought, you wake up with the thought, you do everything else with that thought, and that's when you can really, really succeed. Well, it has been fascinating talking to BJ, and we share almost a common journey of being an entrepreneur. I cannot say I'm anywhere close to being you, but at least the spirit is the same of, wanting to make a change and create value for ourselves as well as for the rest of us around us. Well, viewers, 20 years from now, you'll probably regret things that you did not do rather than things that you took a chance upon. So here's a time for you. Get up, dream, change, and inspire at Tiecon 2016, May 6th and 7th at the Santa Clara Convention Center. We'll see you there.